Hi everyone, welcome to the PCH Global Youth Talk Show. I'm Minja Kim and we are coming to you from the PCH TV studio.
Yes, so I'm really happy to be part of this new way of discovering President Park Chung-hee for the 20s and for the 30s guys, and yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sure that you, the viewers, will have a great chance to get to know President Park Chung-hee.
Exactly. Well, as you can see today, I'm thrilled that I can join by two special guests. On my right is Sebastian Bertrand from France, a history professor well known as President Park's evangelist. Just a joke, but I meant it.
No, it's okay, it's
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, hello everybody. I'm actually history and geopolitics professor in France at the Scholar City Janson de Sailly, which is quite a big challenge because it is the biggest scholar city in France. And yeah, I'm teaching a history of the 20th century, and a large part is devoted to history of East Asia, including South Korea history, of course.
I see. We are super great honor to having you in here, like super expert, right?
I just want to add
Yay.
something. You introduced me as President Park's evangelist. I mean, President Park is not my God, and I'm not worshiping him.
I sure know,
But
right?
if by evangelist you mean someone who tried to spread President
Right,
Park's
yeah,
work
that's exactly what I
among
meant,
a
right.
large audience, then that's totally right. I mean, this is a role of an historian, you know, to make better knowledge
Yeah.
about the past.
And also you give other people a good impression, like a good impact, right? So that's why. Anyway, yeah. And let's move on to...
Wait and see.
All right, we'll see. And let's move on to Jaeho. Yeah. Jaeho also like PCA TV's assistant director who, like Jaeho Ham from Korea, also major in political science as an undergraduate.
Yeah, as Minji said, I actually work as part of the 박정희TV YouTube channel, which means I'm usually behind the camera.
Right, yeah.
This is my first time sitting in the studio
On the stage,
on
right?
stage with the live cameras going. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes.
Oh, I see. It's super great to have you on this stage, finally. Yeah. As our panelists mentioned earlier, through the show, we are gonna get to know President Park with fun tools.
Yes,
Right.
but you have to explain us and to explain me before, you know, I'm a bit vintage professor, what kind of tools we have here to do that.
That's a great question,
Yep.
right? In the show, we will be using the game, Would You Rather? I'll show you a series of questions with two options, and you will have 20 seconds to each question to choose your answer. Once you choose, please write it down on the whiteboard in front of you. All right? So I know about this like similar game in French as well, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not so popular, but when we do something like tu préfères, it's like would you choose, would you rather? Yes, it exists in France.
Like, could you share one of like good examples? in
For
France?
yeah,
Like, well-known
it's
examples.
it's more like a joke, and I mean nonsense choices.
I
For
see.
instance, would you rather have the flu all your life long, or would you rather have two arms 20-meter long, something like that?
Well, it's quite
All
hard
along
to
your
choose,
life,
right?
so,
all our life.
Yep.
No way.
So I guess it, like the comedy factor is a big part of it.
Kinda, I guess so.
It's
Yeah.
more kind of impossible choice.
But in this show, we prefer like positive way, like positive
yeah.
option.
It's
We
much
already
better.
prepared
Oh, yeah.
it, so
Okay.
you guys don't need to worry about that. So, all right. Judging from our panelists' reaction, I can't wait to open up today's first question. Let's jump in. All right. Today's first question. Be a classmate of President Park or be a teacher of President Park? All right, I'll give you 20 seconds for this question. Ready? Go. All right, our first question is quite funny, right? Our time flies. We just have only 10 seconds left. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, what a good guess.
I won.
Match it,
I
right?
won. I
For
won.
this time, yeah, Sebastian won, right?
I'll get you next time.
I
funny.
cheated you also.
Anyway, all right. Oh, our first question time is out. So this question is so funny to imagine, right? Joe, could you share the reason you choose your answer first?
So I went with be a classmate of President Park.
Classmate. Wow, what a
So
good image.
the thing is, I've during my time working here, I heard that as a boy, President Park was very talented in music and at sports as well. And because of that, I think he and I, as children, would have gotten along pretty well. Because like those two things were really big parts of my life when I was in school, and it was the same way for a lot of my friends.
Oh, I see. I heard you had talent in drum, right?
I was gonna share that a little bit later, but yeah,
I heard not just drum. He has tons of talent when it comes to like playing music.
I
right?
I do still play music outside of the office.
I just dream that like if you guys have some chance like before like. Kind of do it, right? You know,
yeah.
It's gonna be fun, right?
Yeah.
President Park and you.
Oh,
Who knows,
the
right?
pressure is on.
Pressure? No. Anyway, I truly believe that there's no doubt music is the best tool to connect with others, right? I bet you guys would have besties if you have been there, right? What about Sebastian? Can you open your answer?
I think the audience could have guessed.
Oh.
I want to be the teacher, one teacher, the history teacher of President Park.
Exactly,
of
like
course.
highlighted, right? History teacher.
I mean, it is the dream of each teacher in the world to be the teacher of a future president, of a future ruler, of course. But it is such a responsibility. So, I mean, if I could be the teacher of President Park, I couldn't know that he became president after that. But I read that he was a very good student, top of the class and class president at the elementary school. So I think I wouldn't have any problem with him. And that's why I need someone like Park Chung-hee in my class, as a motor for the others, as an example, as a model for the others.
Super interesting, yeah.
And beside, he was kind of he had a funny face as a kid. And really, so I'm pretty sure he would have, do quite some interesting faces when I would explain the history.
I see. Yeah. What sort of lecture do you want to teach if you were in there, to President Park?
Of course, I would teach the history of South Korea. I mean the history of the peninsula of Korea. I would mention also the history of France because it is well known that President Park he read a book about Admiral Yi Sun-shin when he was fifth grade, and a book about Napoleon when he was sixth grade. So I would be delighted to give him more details about Admiral Yi, big hero of the history of Korea, and also about my Emperor Napoleon. My Emperor Napoleon was so impressive, so fascinating for French people and for the entire world.
Right.
So when I discovered that President Park was focused on Napoleon and was a kind of specialist of Napoleon, I felt very honored. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, 100 years after his death, Napoleon was famous in another world, in Far East Asia.
Yeah. So true, right?
Impressive for a small boy, farmer boy in colonized Korea. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Wow, sounds like such a great honor for you as well, right?
Those I couldn't know at that time that he would become president, but maybe I would have written, at the end of the school year on his mark, he will go very far, or something like that. He will have a great future.
Wow.
Sometimes I write that for some of my students.
Awesome.
In the hope that they won't forget me decades later when they become president of France. There's a message.
Wow.
My Professor Bertrand believed in me.
Exactly. I was the first one who noted that President Park was one of a kind.
Wow, I see. Wow, that's a great image for me.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. And especially since we chose opposite options, I'm just picturing the scene of you at the front as a teacher, and I'm sitting next to him, and we're your
Chonggi,
students.
Chonggi, Jeho, stop talking together, please. Chonggi, stand up. Talk about Napoleon.
Wow, that's so
Stop listening
funny.
this Japanese music.
Oh my goodness, like that's such a great example, right? Wow.
President Park was a great Korean patriot. We
Right,
can't forget
so
this.
true. In that sense, why don't we just share some great stories like related to President Park's time as student and teacher? Do you
mean,
guys have any? Like,
You know, this is where I was going to bring up the whole music thing because you know, he was well known as a trumpet player when he was in
Right.
high school, and then after graduating, he went on to become a teacher, and he actually, I think, organized a band among like the young men in the village. So I was going to say, you know, this is where I was going to say, I also play in a band.
That's
So
why,
if he, you know, needed a drummer, he could have come to me.
whoa, wow, that would be nice. Like,
Yeah.
if he contact you, like,
Yeah.
would you want to join?
Exactly, and I'll be so down to play.
Wow, yeah, sure thing. And what about Wilson? Do you have any like stories that you want to share?
Not so much about President Park as a student. I already told many, but maybe when he was a teacher,
Yeah.
it was complicated for him because he was a Korean teacher in a school which was organized by Japanese, you know, by the Japanese administration.
we knew that.
So he tried to teach his students Korea history and, you know, to impulse some patriotism, always a bit hidden, with the students. And he told them about hero Napoleon. And I think he chose this figure because, you know, there couldn't be a danger if the Japanese were behind him to let him, what is your topic? Oh, you're talking about Napoleon? No danger. But by talking about Napoleon, I'm pretty sure that he could give an example for the students of a man who became a big ruler with a vision of the future and so on. And
Exactly.
a second thing could be that I think he never forgot his past as teacher, because if you look closer his speeches as a president, he had the art of pedagogy. This is incredible how, you know, he always used concrete examples. The introduction is very well done. He was able to talk to the poor farmer, to talk to a gathering of workers, and, you know, not only for high civil servants or for high rulers. He was really able to talk to everybody, and I think it is because of his past of teacher, he got the art of teaching.
And I'm sure
I know what I mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you know how important it is to be a good communicator.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the key of all. You know, we are talking nowadays about communication in policy, but I mean, communication in policy, it started in ancient Greece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pericles and the others in Athenian democracy, they knew everything about communication, how to catch the attention of the audience.
Sure
So,
thing,
and that was the case also for President Park.
Also, like, even like nowadays, like so many students there like struggle with to get about that ability, right? About like communication. So in that sense, like, I do understand about. That was a great introduction to President Park. I'm sure that our viewers must feel closer to him already, right? Then let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. Attend the opening of the Gyeongbu Expressway or attend the opening of the Seoul subway. I'll give you 20 seconds already. Ready? Go. Wow, what a remarkable stories in here. Both of that ceremony is really remarkable, like results of in Park, like President Park's era. So, our time's up. Done. For this time, Joe is much faster. Anyway, yeah. For this time, I'd love to ask you guys to open your answer at the same moment.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Open it. Thank you. Oh, it's for the Sebastian. It's an opening on
very
time.
nice.
Wow, very nice. Opposite one as well, right? Wow.
I mean, it was much more complicated for Geo to design the entire Seoul subway.
That's true. That's true.
Well, maybe not at that
Makes
time because there was only
sense.
one line, but anyway.
That was so funny. Well, but I believe both of these questions would be a great honor, right? There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
No matter which we choose. So, Sebastian, I want to ask you first. You went with the first one. I bet it was quite a difficult decision, so I just wondering, like, what made you choose that?
Now, I would be delighted to attend the opening of the Gyeongbu Expressway for, I should say, for 3 reasons.
Wait, like,
Three.
even 3 reasons?
No, it's
different
logical.
reasons?
My students know that as an history teacher. I say 2 points, 3 reasons,
Wow.
4 chapters, and so on. They know that. So.
But like even 3 reasons that
Yep.
reflects to us that how much you want to choose that,
No,
right?
I mean, it's to hit you, so to give you firm arguments, you know. So.
So
Yeah, I mean,
alright.
first of all,
Yeah.
you know, the Gyeongbu Expressway is well known, was the biggest challenge that South Korea had
So
to
true.
overcome in the late
Right.
60s. And it was, nobody believed that in the entire world, and it was the proof that South Koreans were able to do as well as the Western countries, and even faster. They completed the entire work 6 months ahead of schedule. Yeah, that's Korean. That's
Pali-pali.
Korean way. Pali-pali, exactly.
Right,
And you know
absolutely.
when you could see pictures of KTV while President Park was overseeing the work in helicopter, and the commentary said that President Park insisted that the work could be achieved as soon as possible. And I could hear, you know, the commentary in Korea, even if I barely speak Korean,
Nah.
it was saying pali pali. So pali pali, always.
Well, that's a well-known characteristic
Oh, yeah.
in Korea,
Oh, yeah.
right?
We're always
Uh-huh.
rushing. We're always
Mhm.
rushing.
And that make our Korea like strong and huge
Sure.
power country. I know.
So
sure thing.
the second reason is that the Gyeongbu Expressway is the example of President Park's achievement that my students best remember. Always. They're-
See.
Many years after, they remember about this South Korean president who constructed an expressway. I don't know why, but it's really for them quite very impressive. And the last reason is that President Park, as we can see here, personally attended and cut the ribbon for the
Right.
opening of the Gyeongbu Expressway. And I want to meet him. So I want to be there
Yeah,
and see him.
I can see your burning eyes, right?
Yeah.
Eager to attend
Sure,
that
sure.
one.
It's a dream of every teacher, you know, to meet an historical figure.
Oh,
So
yeah.
true, so true. I'm sure if you had some chance to attend that opening ceremony, you would have seized without hesitation, right?
I have 1,000
Got
questions
it,
to ask you.
right.
I mean, you know, having met you before and having worked with you before, I've heard from you that your students are very impressed by the Gyeongbu
Yep.
Expressway. So I had a feeling that you were going to go with that option.
Oh, I see. That makes sense, right? I think Joe seems to be persuaded by Sebastian, right? Like for like firmly 3 reasons, right?
That's true.
It's impressive, isn't it?
It's a very solid argument.
In your face.
Right,
But I'm
impressive.
still sticking with my original answer.
Oh.
The opening of the subway.
Great stand,
I
right?
mean, you know, it's a symbol of Seoul these days,
Oh,
and
so true.
it's something that I use personally every day to get to and from work.
Right.
And you know, when my friends come to visit, for example, I had a friend from college who's from Scotland,
Oh.
and he came to Korea last summer, and we got around everywhere just fine on the subway, and yeah, it's the little things that they remember, and you know, everyone talks about how they're always on time. It's very clean. It's very pleasant. But
Right.
you
I
know,
confirm. I think a surgeon could operate on the floor on the Seoul subway. Yeah.
Oh, right.
But also, he and I are very, very into music, and he the thing that he remembers, I guess the thing that sticks out to him the most is, you know how when you're standing on the platform and the train comes and they always play the tune.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
Cause
thing
of
that.
all Mermaid, right.
So yeah, but,
Yeah, right.
I have a great appreciation for the subway, and I remember taking it from like a very early age. It was my parents, and then I started taking it by myself, and when I was I want to say 12, 11. So, yeah. I mean, but to be fair, I might not appreciate a highway as much because I don't drive.
Makes sense, makes sense. And also, like when it comes to like notification music, right?
Yeah.
When the subway comes, that's so nice. Yeah, because I just think like we just get used to it already.
Oh, yeah,
That's
we
why
do.
we just cannot like recognize and just focus and like easily.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like foreign people, I bet they just catch their sight and their sound, like their ears, right?
You know what? Go to France and go to the Paris subway, and you will be instantaneously notice how wonderful is the Seoul subway. If one day you say, "Oh, we're used to that, and it's a daily routine," and so on, go to the Paris subway, and I assure you, I love Paris and I love my country, but you will regret the Seoul subway. I tell you, I can tell about that.
Wow, I see.
You
I
can
see.
confirm, Joe.
Oh yeah. I was in Paris but this was like 15 years ago to be fair. But
The Paris subway still existed 15 years ago.
yes.
I
But
see.
even so, no contest. No contest.
Oh, interesting. I see. Well, but why did you seem that like quite be persuaded at the previous moment?
because of him.
Yeah, it's the last thing that Sebastian mentioned. It's that
I see. Understand.
at the opening of the Seoul subway, President Park wasn't there.
Right.
Because the subway opened on August 15th, 1974, which also happens to be the day that his wife, First Lady Yu Kyung-soo, was tragically assassinated.
Got it.
So understandably, the president had to miss the opening ceremony.
Right. Yeah. That was such an unbelievable tragedy, right?
And it was the 50th anniversary of her death just a few days ago at the time of recording.
Right. But I'm sure that these sort of like sacrifices, but Korea where we see it today, right? All right. Now let's move on to the third question. Ready? Go. Question number 3. Receive a Saemaul medal or become President Park's Saemaul Undong advisor. All right. Well, I'll give you 20 seconds for this time as well. Ready? Go. Wow, this is such a great question, I think. We just have 10 seconds left. Don't hesitate to choose. Oh, you choose super fast. Done. All right, time's up. Well, for this time, I can't wait to see our panel's answer. All right, panelists, please open your answer. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Oh, Saemaul Undong advisor. Wow, receive a medal, right? Wow, you guys choose opposite option once again, right? Well, Sebastian, you want to be a policymaker, right?
Yeah,
That's a
it's
good
because
way.
sure, it's really exciting to be a part of the policy of a state. And yeah, to make a long story short, I wanted to contribute at a modest place to ending rural poverty. I mean, it would be the greatest honor to have a role in that. I mean, this is an exciting challenge to come out from poverty and to say we have archaic rural areas and we will do something. It will be hard and will take times, but I'm sure we can do it.
Oh, yeah, and you be like the part of that, like the maker, right?
I want to play part in this.
That's so sweet, right? As we know, in 1965, over 40% of the Korean population was considered extremely poor, right? Especially in rural areas, like poverty rates were much higher.
Yeah, and at the same time, that also meant that a lot of people probably left those poor rural areas and went from the countryside to the city.
Because of that, right?
Yeah, they couldn't make in-house production for the new citizens of the cities. I mean, because I have been told that the main occupation of the peasants in these rural areas was drinking and gambling. Yeah. At that time, rural areas were not so sure. It was a peaceful old country, but archaic. archaic, habits and quite dangerous places sometimes.
Right, and there's no any limits that they can just approach it, right?
Absolutely,
And
with no future.
And I bet that's why President Park launched the Saemaul Undong.
So true, right?
Which, for all the international viewers out there, which translated into English, it means something like the new community movement.
Exactly. I always think that one of the great icons of Korea takeoff is absolutely the Saemaul Undong. Then what about Jeho? Why did you choose the first one? Receive the medal.
Okay, so when it comes to implementing any sort of policy, the top level decision making is very important. But you also need people on the ground, like the boots on the ground, to actually implement those things. Out in the field.
Great perspective, right?
If I receive a Saemaul medal, that means that I was personally participating in the Saemaul Undong out in the villages, and not only that.
It's because sorry to interrupt you. It's because one picture just popped up in my head. I imagine you with your wonderful sunglasses in the river. In the rice plantation, helping President Park to do the rice, rice record and so on. So it's funny anyway.
Yeah, and then I was just gonna add that if I received a medal, that means I did something good.
Wow, yeah, that's your thing. Yeah, that's
and you could be
super
charmed
good.
by the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
So you're much more than this, right?
But that would be the only benefit, because believe me, I think it would be very painful and very hard. And the Saemaul, I want to insist on that. The Saemaul Undong was not a miracle, because a miracle, it comes from the sky. It was really the result of the standing efforts of an entire population. And that's why, receive a Saemaul medal was really a proof of a great achievement.
Right, and they deserve it.
Absolutely. And President Park in his speeches say, it will be hard and results take time. And if not for our generation, it will be for the next generation. But I'm sure we can do it.
Right. And one of the whole thing is gonna be happen with your 10s skin, right?
I'm already 10 as it is.
But if you receive that medal, you would be much more. That's why the special mentioned that.
No more white clothes for me.
Anyway, that's a thoughtful answer. Yeah, so true. As a citizens, we need to be a good followers to our leader, right? And I bet, guys what? I bet the next question is going to be much more fun. So let's get into it. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Wash President Park's socks or swat flies in President Park's office. All right. I'll give it 20 seconds as well. Ready? Go. All right, this option is super fun, I guess. Please, our viewers, you guys can choose it as well. We have 10 seconds left. All right. Our panels don't have any hesitation to choose. All right, our time's done. All right, time's up. I can't wait to see our panel's answers. All right, panelists, can you open at the once? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. What flies? No way. Wash President
recognize the
flies. Wow, I see. By the way, you know what? Through this question, I understood that every single role, even something that seems like nothing, this could be the best support to our leader. So, Jeho, please tell us about the reason for the role you choose.
So I chose I would rather wash President Park's socks.
Right.
I don't mind doing laundry.
Wow.
He's good to marry.
Wow.
Ladies.
Viewers, please stay tuned.
Jump on this.
But getting serious once again. President Park, I recently found out, actually washed his own socks when he went on business trips out to the countryside. So, if I had this job, then maybe I could free up the time that he spent doing that so he could spend
how thoughtful you are.
Spend it, doing other more important things, thinking about.
Focus on his job.
Exactly.
Right? That's so great. I can imagine Jeho being mentioned in President Park's autobiography. like appreciating what he's done for him. Wash his socks every day, right? Who knows?
You know the title, I Washed the Thugs of President Park.
Oh,
Bestseller, book of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's a great title.
Indeed.
It is, right? What about you, Sebastian?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather, I have nothing against socks, that's the problem, but I would rather swat flies in President Park's office. So for personal reason, because I think I am a good fly hunter.
Oh.
And yes, because my grandfather, also born in 1917, like President Park, he was also equipped with a fly swatter. And so I have learned from this example. But no, to be serious, I mean, to be serious, you know, it is a proof that because swatting flies was an occupation of President Park in his office, it is really a proof that he hated waste, and he always encouraged his own secretaries to swat flies instead of using air conditioning to save electricity as much as possible. It was at the time when, you know, South Korea couldn't afford such luxuries. We are here very comfortable.
Right.
We are sitting with air conditioning, but at that time it was really a luxury.
Yeah.
And at the Blue House, your President Park was reproaching sometimes the secretaries to use, you know, fans instead of swatting flies because, you know, they came with the heat.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful story.
Yep.
Yeah, we already read that.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he did both of these things personally, it just goes to show how frugal of a person he was. And, you know, and he really embodied in himself the things that he wanted for the rest of the country as well.
Yeah, he didn't pretend it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just like born like that. No, yeah.
But this anecdote about the socks, I mean, I learned that only last week during an interview with a former advisor of President Park, so I didn't know that before. I mean, he didn't do communication by this. You know what I mean? That was just his private things to wash socks personally, and he didn't do that to show to the people, you see, I'm washing my socks by myself. So, I mean, it wasn't well known at that time.
Super touched that one, right? I deeply appreciate the fact that we had this great man, right, who was an example to people as a president. So, all right, friends. So President Park's two beautiful, great supporters. Let's move on to the final question. Question number 5. Bring President Park from the past or go to the past and learn from him. Ready? Go. I'll give you 20 seconds as well. All right. Wow, what a wonderful question this is. Our last questions. Time's up. It's just around the corner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. All right. Our last questions. All right, friends. Panels, please open your answer at once. 1, 2, 3. Oh, bring.
With the DeLorean.
Wow.
Nice. I should have added something at the TARDIS.
You see? I will explain
I
this.
see. Wow. I think that among the questions we talk about so far, this one is going to be the best question to apply our thoughts, right? Can you tell us the reason first?
Yeah, it's because I'm a big fan of Back to the Future trilogy. No, I mean, that was just, and about the DeLorean car and, you know, the time machine of Doc in Back to the Future. I mean, I'm a history professor, so, you know, a journey to the past has always been my greatest dream, of course. So I want to go to the past. I want to see him with my own eyes. I want to see the Park Chung-hee era. I want to see South Korea at that time. It is the period that I have been working on for many years, and learn from him, of course. But above all, see the huge transformation of South Korea between 1961 and 1979. That would be my greatest dream, indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
So I hope I will
dreamy,
give the idea to Doc Brown, you know, to fix the DeLorean car and organize that. But
Wow,
maybe,
that's why. It's such a dreamy, right? Wow, nice thing. What about Jeho?
Yeah, whereas Sebastian wants to go to the past, I actually want to give President Park a chance to see the result of his work with his own two eyes.
Like our backgrounds,
exactly,
right? It is.
And then, you know, since I work here at the President Bakjeonghi Memorial Foundation, I see a lot of people, both in person, but also like in the YouTube comments, saying that they wish President Park could see the advanced nation Korea has become today, and they all add that. Oh, I imagine that he would be very, very proud of the progress we've made.
Yeah, right. The first of his whole activity.
Exactly.
And whole
He
words,
would be.
right?
I think he would be proud of the South Korean people
Oh.
because he was really confident in the South Korean population. That's why,
so
if you read his speeches, he was always convinced that the South Korean population could do this. That's the can-do philosophy.
Yeah.
It's not I will do that. It's we can do this. We can do this. So I'm pretty sure he
true.
would be very proud of the achievement of the people.
And I'm sure that's like the teacher in him coming out as
Or maybe, yeah. Good job.
Oh,
Best
so
mark.
Sweet,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sweet. Well, same as for me. Like I used to think that about that, what kind of reaction of our President Park would like have it if he like were alive now. Like I guess he might weep, right?
Yeah.
Even weep.
But
about-
maybe a bit lost in the Seoul subway.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Maybe I'm
I
pretty
guess
sure
so.
he would say, too much air conditioning. This is waste of electricity. This is waste of electricity.
Whoa.
Shut down.
Well, we'll
Who
see.
knows? Who knows?
That's so funny, Rel. Who knows? So true, so true. All right. Well, wow, our time flies, right? But it's time to wrap up.
Oh, okay.
So, personally, this is my very first time to like the host in English in PCTV studio. So I'm so glad that I met you guys in person and lead this show like as a host. I hope you guys have enjoyed about that. For this show, I just wondering about your guys' feelings like before we wrap up. So can you start first?
Yeah, was really happy to you this way, this very weird and funny way, you know, to explain to our audience, the achievements of President Park and to make them understand who he was and how he grew up and what was his project and his task. So, I mean, it's a very, very interesting and funny way to do that. And, you know, with Geo, we know each other for a while. So, I mean, we can joke together about that and at the same time keep a certain distance. I mean, you know, it's history and of course nothing was absolutely perfect there, but it's interesting thinking about that, sometimes criticizing this, but anyway, talking about it together.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
A little bit out of your comfort zone, but in a good way, I imagine.
Right. Yeah. What about Jeho?
Oh yeah. You know, it's also my first time.
Very first time.
On camera.
On
And
camera.
so I think that went well. You know.
I think that's fit on you.
Thank you.
Right.
You know, performing for a live audience is obviously different, but I think that experience it helped prepare me a little bit for this.
Yep.
Right. I see. Thanks for sharing, you guys. It was such a pleasure to talk with you too. Yeah. And our show will be back next week to delve deeper into President Park. Special thanks to Sebastian and
you.
Jeho. Yeah. And thank you everyone for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah. 감사합니다.
Merci.
Thank you. Yeah, merci. All right. It's done.